depend on another result from the day. But a first pick of Zeri, Inax very proficient with this pick and gives a lot of late game scaling over to Game Ward.
Yeah, but then Solari have gone for the two sort of best blind pick champions in the two solo lanes in that Nara and the Azir. They've got soft counters, it feels like, but no one's really playing anything that completely dumpsters them.
No, Irelia, is the go-to for top lane, but obviously a champion with a very high skill ceiling and definitely mechanically intensive, not something that every top laner can just pull out on a moment's notice. The Gwen is going to be the answer. I wouldn't be surprised to see Game Ward take away either a very strong jungler here, or for them to match mid lane. They can, try and say, oh, hey, you've picked the Azir. We don't mind showing our face and showing our cards in terms of what we want to match it up with.
And it's so weird that the draft and the way that these teams go through champions has evolved through the year, so that blind picking your solo lanes is actually something completely reasonable to do. Not going to be seeing a mid laner locked in here for Game Warders. It's actually the Lee Sin for Akabane.
So it is instead the high prio jungle, I suppose, and we've seen it picked on blue side now 2 games in a row. Feeling a little bit like, I can't remember quite which week it was. It was one of the previous weeks in season where everybody just picked Lee Sin for a week and then we went back to not picking Lee Sin anymore. But now, final game or final game day, so teams more frugal with their champion picks. The Aphelios locked in for Solari, and this is another first rotation of we will just take very strong champions and then fill out the rest as where possible. It feels like, once again, you could plug pretty much any support and jungle into this roster and have a good team.
Yeah, like the flexibility that Anar and Azir and Aphelios have is kind of unmatched in terms of this rotation here, and it means that Solari can ban in a little bit more of a targeted fashion, taking away the Zoe from Checolad at the first ban of this second phase.
They do still need to try and draw their attentions to the Game Ward bot lane if they want to get rid of something like the Nautilus, potentially something with a bit of engage to get on top of the Azir, get on top of the Aphelios. They do that in a different way. Vi taken off the board by Solari. So again, same sort of mentality, get things off of the Zeri. And Scarlet, actually Checolad's Zoe, that's been taken off the board. Actually, very surprising to me, given we see, the makings of a lot of magic damage already. We could well see the physical damage come through in the mid lane also.
Yeah, maybe something like a Yasuo or a Yone. Something a bit fun for the final day of players. Renata is going to be that last ban from Solari. Ari would be a cool. Maybe AD.
It's not AD. Wait, where's Nymera?
Give me AD Ari. Give me AD Ari.
That could be a thing. There is certainly a world where it exists. It's not this world.
Not this world.
Please hope it's not this game. But Ari is something that Checolad has defaulted back to. Would not be surprised to see him take that into the Azir in the mid lane. Now Solari, I expect to just go for their jungler of choice to match up against the Lee Sin. We saw the Wukong last game. Things like the Viego, the Volibear, all still open. There are a plethora of choices ready for Jocko if he wants to take one of those. Instead, Solari going to completely ruin me and say, no, we value support pick instead of support counter pick. So, whatever.
Yeah, this is a bit of a bad one. I mean, Ricard, again, one of these champions that can be incredibly flexible.
But not flexible to jungle, Middlecott.
Yeah, well, not flexible to jungle, but looking at what Solari have built, dude, I feel like you need a little bit of backbone, maybe. Like, being flexible, being able to occupy different spaces is great, but you kind of need something to stand you up and push you forward.
You need something that can occupy the front line, and not just, all spaces in tandem. It's something that we see Game Ward now lock in for themselves. The Amumu not going to be inherently tanky. We expect this to be in the bot lane, so as the support role. Going to be on a limited income, certainly not going to be a full tank Amumu that we've seen in a couple of patches gone by. But if you get that Zhonya's, you can also buy that space in the front time, buy in the front line, and buy a lot of time. Mid lane round out here for Game World. What's it going to be for Checolad? Going to opt into something a little bit different. The Silas gets taken into the mid lane with 3 out of 4 ultis so far being very good to steal. I'm a big fan of this.
Yeah, the Nara and the quickness are the big ones for me. The Emperor's Divide is great as well, but I feel like those ones kind of fit into a bit more the way that Silas is playing, diving forward and slamming people into a wall, or charming them, bring them back to the rest of your team. And I think that's why Solari left jungle for last pick, a Skarner.
Good. My pet peeve is when teams save or go for an R5 when they see the matchup and they go for the most vanilla answer in the world.
Yeah.
Like, picking a Volibear there would have been the most demoralizing thing to have ever seen. They go for a Skarner. Mwah. Big fan. Chef's kiss. Gotta love it. Something different. Something new and something that is worthy of an R5.
And the thing is, this is not a game without stakes for Solari. If they win this, they keep their hopes of making it to the playoffs alive. And in a game which is so important, throwing a little bit of spice, throwing a little bit of a curveball at your opponents, Rudu, could prove to be an effective strategy.
Exactly. This is the conversation we have every time there's a new champion where it's, oh, when was the last time Game Ward played against Skarner? You can put a fair amount of money on the fact that it wasn't in the last week. And I put, you know, sizable amounts on it not being within the last month and certainly not within, you know, this sort of time frame that would be in recent memory at the very least. That opportunity where you can just be forgetful of quite the power points of Skarner and what you can get away with, certainly something that could favor Solari this game round.
Hey, Zanzara's back in LEC, so Skarner a little bit less prioritized in the LFL, but I think Game Ward have drafted a decent composition for themselves. The Silas are going to be offering another form of engage with one of those stolen ultimates. Combine that with the Amumu, who's going to be diving in. I think that if Game Ward are able to play proactive, they can really stamp their authority on this game. We're going to have to see if they can execute on their win conditions, as Game 2 is coming right up. And here we go, on to Summoner's Rift for Game Ward versus Solari. Win for Solari keeps their chances of sneaking into the playoffs alive, but Game Ward already locked in the playoffs. Their main concern is the seeding, trying to secure as high a seed as possible to make their journey through the knockout stages that little bit easier.
The funny thing about both of these teams is that even though they've got a very important game ahead of them, still their destiny is not in their own hands. Both of their seeding placements rely on other games throughout the day, and 2 different games that add to that. A little bit of level 1 tension as Game Ward stacking up, trying to secure those Crystal Spires. But Game Ward relying on the Vitality B versus BDS Academy game a little bit later on, and then for Game Ward, for Solari, excuse me, they're relying on that Misfits Prem versus Oplan match to close out the day. Whoever finds the win here going to be having beady eyes on those respective games.
And I mean, that's all you can do in this position. Put everything that you've got into this game and hope it's going to be enough to secure you W's in the future. Joko,
what is, wow.
Getting played onto by Checo Lad here, who is going to be able to secure the stun. The Skarner should be fine to go and clear through their bottom side, but Game Ward already splitting the map.
Humilius is in the mid lane still. Now this is going to put a little bit of pressure on to Inax, who is obviously going to struggle slightly. But getting a free buff up against the Skarner, something that is going to be quite nice for this Lee Sin, of course. Remember, last game, the points don't change for the champions. Lee Sin wants to do well in the early stages. Skarner, not the greatest duelist without the ulti, and not the greatest duelist even with it. Certainly needs team setup, wants somebody there to be dishing out the damage, whilst he's locking everybody in place. The exception to that is when he's fighting in those spires. He becomes a very, very scary duelist, in fact, when that is the case.
It's honestly, it's thousands of gold worth of free stats, and it means that Akabane is going to have to be careful if they want to go for any particularly aggressive plays onto this Skarner. I think the rest of Solari, though, are going to be happy stable in terms of these lanes. The Gnar, the Azir, the Aphelios, these are champions that all are going to hit spikes later on into the game, and I think that the key thing is that they don't fall to any massive early disadvantages.
No, that we don't see a replica of last game, essentially. Because, like you mentioned, this is a great scaling team by Solari. We credited their first 3 picks in draft because it gives them so much leeway to play with these unique jungler and not necessarily unique support, but with pretty much anything in those filler supporting roles. Now Joko on this top side, Melonic not warded out. This should just be a flash, a heal, something.
Ghost going to be popped by the Gwen, and little bit of ring around the rosy, but you get a summoner spell.
Yeah, neither of the summoner spells that I said, getting my lanes mixed up, unfortunately. But It is, of course, that ghost being burned means that Melonic is now a little bit more scary, a little bit more scared, excuse me, in that top side. And honestly, a slightly unforgivable gank timing to fall to right there. You know that Akabane has cleared out his bot side and seen that Jocko isn't there. He's only got a limited amount of camps to clear himself. That timing should have been heard, should have been called. Melonic really should have been prepped for that one.
Yeah, and the thing about losing this Ghost is it means that your ability to actually chase down Kyo in this mini-form when they are a little bit squishier, a little bit more vulnerable is definitely going to be hampered. And, oh, you didn't have a chance of fighting the Gnar in Mega Gnar anyway. Joko, moving on to the Scuttle Crab, is going to be taking that one away as Akabane has hit level 4, but slight health disadvantages. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Camilius getting a gank down onto Scarlet, who's able to flash and shuffle away.
Just in time, able to navigate his way to safety there. Burns Flash in the mid lane. Ignite burn for Camilius, which gives a little bit of leeway to the bot side of Solari. Cleanse taken by Azza. Want to quickly address that. It means that these engagements in the early stages, in the late stages, whenever the Amumu gets on top of the Aphelios, he's going to have that tool to get out of danger and potentially reposition himself. Gale Force and Flash, a very lethal tool for generating distance.
And I'm interested that you have touched on Camilius on this Amumu, because quite often what we see is the Glacial Augment to provide a little bit more CC on top of the already ridiculous amount that the Amumu can put out, but instead has opted toward this Aftershock, possibly going to be a bit more of a tank for the team than they usually would expect.
Which is a little bit strange to me in this composition in particular, because Game World actually have 3 other divers going their way. I would understand Aftershock if Camilius was the solo source of engagement, the only person who's going to be going into the backline. But he's got a lot of supporting cast with him. I think the Glacier would have actually done a lot of work to set up his team. My concern is actually for Inax in this game, because we look at Zeri, you know, great champion, at being able to self-peel, at being able to buy lots of space, use her range to her advantage. But she's got no support.
Yeah.
And Lee Sin, a Gwen, and a Silas, they're not going to be there. They're not going to be jannering it up and making the plays in the backline to keep the Zeri safe. If Jocko gets in there, there's nobody stopping him.
I'm ready for a team fight where Akabane and Melonic and Check, they all go forward and Inax is just there going, guys, Joko's killing me. And there's not really anything that you're doing to stop him.
There's always this world where we get to see Akabane play the classic peel Lee Sin, where you simply kick the Skarner away. I think that the later the game goes, it's going to default him more and more into that style. And now I've said that, I know exactly what you're brewing.
I'm so ready. Joko ults Inax. Akabane kicks Joko back into his team, drags the AD carry along with him.
Perfect. Where's the Thresh? Why did we not set up an Aphelios Thresh and then Thresh Skarner lane?
Hey, we need to go deeper. We need like a Blitzcrank on there as well, an Alistair or something.
Well, now you're lying to yourself that we're talking. Well, I mean, honestly, maybe I'm lying to myself that Thresh is meta, but we would have allowed a Thresh to come through in the bot lane. Not a champion we've seen for a while, but it would have certainly facilitated Jocko to make some fancy plays.
And that's really all you care about. It's not winning. It's about looking cool.
It's all we care about, Middlecott. And at the end of the day, we're the only 2 people here. We are the important people, and we are the ones who importance matter.
Are we the only 2 people here? That is a real shame.
And remember, don't forget the caveat, we're the only people that matter.
Ah.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't realize that. That's
You're welcome. Some people have to...
Thank you.
Sometimes I just gotta let you know.
My self-esteem has gone up a fair bit as Joko will spot away Akabane stealing this blue buff, but with the support from the other members of Game Ward, nothing that the Skarner can really do to contest this, as Camilius is going to be able to clear out that control ward, steal back, cheating over, but its advantage is going in favor of Game Ward in the early game.
And now, once again, Jocko unable to get those hamps, get the buffs, and level 6 slightly delayed again. Pushed back just that little bit further. Jocko going to be able to, pick it up fairly soon. I imagine with Wolves plus red buff and even a Raptor spawn, it'll be cycled up in not too short a time at all. But important to remember that Scarlet was in base for that exchange. That's why it all went so smoothly for Game World. It was going to be a 4v3. Despite the fact that we talked up the Crystal Spires, the Skarner fighting in his own jungle does have that semblance of control. It's not the case if you're fighting in a 4v3.
Yeah, they don't spawn additional teammates in there.
Unfortunately. Not yet.
So far. Not yet. Oh. Season 15.
Neela spawns in extra experience. I'm not putting it out of the realms of possibility that we can spawn in extra teammates.
Well, but Belveth already does, I suppose.
Yeah, there we go.
Loads of them. Honestly, pretty disgusting. Herald has just joined the Rift, and Joko wants them to say bye-bye as quickly as possible as plays being made in the mid lane. Scarlet once again being aggressed onto, but once again able to get away, as now Joko is a little bit caught out here on the Skarner, able to dash away, gets kicked back into his team, comboed with the CC, the lightning crash as well as the heal, enough to keep the Skarner alive for a moment. Azza flashing forward, 3-man routers. Melodic is the first one to rotate over. First blood secured by the Lee Sin, but it's already 2 kills in favor of Game Ward. Make that 3, and they're going to claim Herald 2.
Game Ward stay close, they stay compact, and they're the ones that come out on top of the fight. Joko not able to get an Impale down, no target isolated by the Solari squad. And yes, Azza finds a great route onto 3 people, but Game Ward collapse on the play, and they make sure that that does not matter, getting 3 kills, the Herald as well. And a nice skirmish in that top side. It was a bit scrappy, a bit messy. Game Ward do come out on top.
And this is not the way that you would have wanted this game to start if you are a Solari fan. It's the steal away on the Emperor's Divide in the mid lane as
ping pong
is getting ping-ponged around.
Yeah, they both flash as well. Scarlet quite wisely saves his shuffle until he's behind Checolad. Reminder that the shuffle does block if you get, it does get blocked if there's a champion in the way, and then a nice kick flash from Akabane by Scarlet, or bot rather, puts Joko to fairly low HP but not low enough, and Joko kind of just running around. And this is kind of the drawbacks of Scarlet. It's why we don't see him too frequently. Because Joko, he was a good health bar and he was a good movement speed stat, but didn't really do anything to the enemies.
Yeah, and I think the key thing as well, that Azza moved into that fight not quite level 6 on the Aphelios, and we know that that Moonlight Vigil is a massive tool for the Aphelios, especially this early on into the game where you don't really have the items to back up your auto attacks. And now Game Ward, a kill on their mid laner, a kill on their jungler, a kill on their top laner as well, really setting up these lanes to carry.
Topside control for Game Ward, and I think this is a really good way to go about it. The carries for Solari, Scarlet plus Azza. They're going to be the leading focus of this Gwen, Lee Sin, Sylas trio that are going to be going down into later stages of this game. If they're the ones that have got the gold, they're the ones that are able to shut down the enemy carries. That's a caution that Solari need to try and address. Hex Flash.
Akabane being jumped onto. Going to be suppressed as the play is being made in the mid lane. Double shuffle back under their tower as there goes the quickness. There goes Checolad. A double kill for the Sylas. And Solari's playoffs hopes are disappearing before their eyes.
Oh, it was so funny for Joko there. He's like, guys, I caught somebody. I used my Impale. Come quick. They couldn't. There was a Camillus. There was a Checolad there that were all too ready to respond. They shut down Steelback, shut down Scarlet, and like I say, just in the right place at the right time to protect their jungler. Akabane looks like he's the one that's going to get caught out, but Solari don't have the damage, don't have the response there in time. We are starting to see now, slowly but slowly, Solari's playoff hopes dwindle.
And the thing is, we said that Game Ward were on this sort of 4-game loss streak coming into this matchup, and Solari, a team whose star may be rising at the perfect time for them. But we need to remember that 3 of those Game Ward losses were to LDLC, BDS Academy, and Vitality B. These were good teams that were managing to take down Game Ward, and it feels like in this game they are just a little bit stronger, a little bit more clean than what Solari can match.
Exactly. It's important to remember that at one stage in this season, we were talking about Game Ward as potentially being a top 2 seed, and whilst they're nowhere near, far from that at all, they are still a very, very good team, and they are still a team that I expect to make a run in playoffs and could very well end up being an EU Masters representative for the LFL in summer. So this is something that Game Ward obviously can keep in their minds, as obviously they are a scary team. If they can return to that form, can duke it out with the best of them.
As Rude Dude, we've had a few geography discussions on the broadcast before us. Hold on, Scarlet being rooted, gonna get shoved back here by Checolad. The combo into the Camillus is oh so clean, as is the shuffle away.
Yeah, Scarlet there doing just enough, holds his ulti this time round to actually boop Checolad back after he's also been sent on a journey. Nice adaptation that we're seeing from the Azir. Unfortunately for him, it does mean that he loses his mid turret. It's not without its own consequence. He still loses out very heavily on the play, and Akabane and Checolad once again going fishing in Joko's jungle, really punishing this Skarner pick.
Yeah, and whilst the Skarner has the Mythic already, you see that it doesn't have the space to play at all. being shoved out of his own junglers. Melonic is fighting up with Keo in this bot side. We've had Australia lanes activate for a moment as 4 members of GameWorld actually here on the bot side as Joko going for a flash engage, comboing that into the charm onto multiple members. Solari, their playoff hopes are on the line. That is a huge stun from Camilius and it gets turned around. Shekalad with the stolen ultimate, but Keo's going to use his own one as here comes Melonic, here comes the Gwen, here comes the snip, snip, snip. Your wings have been clipped, you're falling low, but Azza stands tall and Solari take the fight.
Keo does just enough to turn the fight in their favour. This was a 4v5 that GameWorld almost won. But Solari come out on top. Inax in this top lane. He's pushing, he's securing plates for himself, but not securing the winning of the fight for the squad. This is one of those issues that we've seen from GameWorld in a couple of occasions where they just overextend their limits, not recognising the full resources available to the enemy team. Starts off with a great engage by Steelback, but it's disengage like this from Camilius. Poor man Curse of the Sad Mummy into a 3-man kick. Cabane takes down the Rakan, and then Keo. Again, it's a game where the fight is topping and turning into other teams' favours. Everybody stepping up with their crucial cooldowns. And Keo landing that 2-man wallop, maybe saving the day, honestly. Yes, he's got 700 HP, 800 HP there, but he's playing an ADC. That evaporates in the face of a Gwen.
And that entire time, Inax was just sipping pina coladas on a beach somewhere, taking down a couple of plates in the top lane. We have gone past the 14-minute mark, so those are no longer an option for either of these teams. But GameWorld have really made the early stages of this game work for them. Have a 3,500 gold lead as Joko speeding away with the phase rush.
Yeah, Melonic committed the needlework to thinking, okay, maybe I can catch somebody out. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, Phase Rush is actually very, very speedy, and Joko finds the proc on that quite quickly. Turbo Kentang activated.
As Shekalad is going to be stealing away that quickness. The QSS actually used by Akabane to keep themselves alive as now Inax is here, Inax is in the fight. Scarlet pushes multiple members back, but it's already a double kill for Shekalad. Keo on the side going mega, but not able to find an engage.
Yeah, we can look at Keo, but when both of his carries have fallen, nothing really for him to do. Don't re-engage this now. You've recognised that you can't fight previously. Don't try and step up again.
They're playing with fire a little bit. Is Shekalad being a little bit cheeky there. Dashing forward, getting the chains to dash back. Chico lad. See, no, rude dude, that's just making me think of Chico.
Yeah, it is Chico time.
It is Chico time.
That is a very niche reference. If anybody gets that...
That is incredibly niche.
Congratulations. Particularly when we know our production crew are all from North America as well.
Yeah. Oh. I feel like this is...
Shout out to Twitch chat. If any of you there recognise it's Chico time, give us a holler. We need to know.
Oh, that is deep British lore.
Deep British lore, correct.
Deep British lore as Melonic being jumped onto, but it's already dealt a fair bit of damage back onto Keo. Don't think it's going to matter as the Gwen a little bit too far up and taken out.
I love it when people on the Gnar are able to find kills with a Goomba Stomp. The Gnar second, or the first E, excuse me, is the difference maker in that case. Checo and Camilius here to merely mourn the grave, mourn the passing of Melonic down in that bot lane, but happy to take his farm all the same. Cabane once again with this Rift Herald going to utilize it, and this is more gold getting funneled into the mid laner of GameWorld, who was constantly for me being one of their brightest points. Very, very smart player, and has always looked fairly scary. Getting him more and more gold, something I'm always on board with.
Right, now rude dude, I'm going to, in a second, ask our observers to swap over to the gold and see how much Shekalad actually has in their back pocket, okay? And I want you to make a noise that reflects that value.
I'm looking. Is that good?
That was alright, actually. You're not winning any Academy Awards. You might win a BAFTA.
Okay, I'll take those. I'm not quite sure how to make a noise that reflects a number, you know?
Well, I mean...
Is it more what the number represented? Also, observers, you griefed us there. I'm not going to lie. We were supposed to wait. We needed the full rules on the table. I wasn't familiar with my surroundings, what I was supposed to do.
We were nice to them earlier. So we're allowed to... I don't know. That feels a little bit wrong. I don't know. I feel like we're being a little bit mean. Keo here, kind of getting the Melonic treatment, being caught out in this side lane, but multiple members of Solari here to back up the play. Good dash back from Checker Ladders. Melonic is not able to find the engage. It's a good attempt at an aggressive play from SLY, but well responded to by Game Ward.
Good attempt at an aggressive play by everybody there. We got 2 TPs into the bot lane. Everybody's just sort of coming out of the woodwork to try and fight.
Melonic flashed onto stun, suppressed, pulled back. The Gwen is dead. And Keo is on a rampage.
Here we go. This is what the Skarner does well. You find one person who is a millimeter overextended. Managed to take them to the grave. A second death for Melonic in fairly quick succession. Opens up this bot lane turret. In the mid lane, though, Inax responding in kind. Tier 2 turret.
Oh, Keo diving onto Checolad, but this may be a little bit of an overextension. The Moonlight Vigil is big, but that is a huge stun from Camilius once again. Solari have the numbers advantage and can go forward. Akabane with the QSS gets out of the stun. They may be looking to turn it around here. Inax making the long journey down from the mid side. He's been on holiday a little bit this game, but is well and truly ready to get to work. The lightning crash down onto Joker's. Meanwhile, Solari actually get the first pick of the fight. Checolad is here, but this is a 3v4 for Game Ward. Solari on the wrong side of the rift a little bit here as Inax is full HP, and that Silas is absolutely chilling as well, stealing away the quicknesses. He's not quite able to find the engage as Melonic is starting to roam over the needlework. He's going to find the slow. He's going to find the potential engage. He's going to find the kills for Game Ward.
It was a ticking time bomb, really. Inax just corralling the entirety of Solari into the waiting arms of Checolad and Akabane. They just melt. They just melt. 3 people from Solari falling. Scarlet on the top side. This time, the one sipping pina coladas. Unfortunately, back home, the house is on fire and nobody's home to put it out.
If your house was on fire, would you put it out? I don't feel capable of doing that. I don't feel equipped to do that.
Depends on the scale of the fire.
It's a pretty big fire right now for Solari.
Yeah.
Down 5,000 gold, and Keo, who's been the sort of
fire.
Yeah, this is a fire that you're definitely cool people to deal with.
A 999, 911 type situation.
112, all of the numbers. Just dial any of them and they work.
This is the international broadcast, of course. We have to open up multiple 3-digit codes.
Are there any more numbers to call the emergency services?
Well, we have the baby emergency services, which is, it's not an emergency, but it's urgent, you know? We have 111.
Yeah, 111. Yeah, it's like,
It's not life or death, but it's close.
I've grazed my knee.
Not quite, not quite.
Oh, well, that's what I've been using it for.
Help, somebody stubbed my toe. Ah! Call the police.
We need to catch the sick son of a bee that's doing this.
Somebody's going around and hitting people's toes a little bit harder than expected. It's a new level of foot fetish. Moving on, quickly. Quickly, Middlecourt, say something.
Please do. So, no. Oh, Lord.
21
minutes.
21
minutes. Bot lane picture plays being made. As, we're getting plays on the main screen as well, across the other side of the map, and both of them go in favor of Game Ward. The Moonlight Vigil going to be opened up now. Azura's on red and white guns, but it doesn't even matter. The amount of damage that Inax can do at this point in the game is absolutely disgusting as Scarlet, diving forward with the Emperor's Divide, secures a shutdown onto Akabane, but the Emperor has been dethroned. A double kill for Inax.
Skeet skirt, and Inax finds a double kill, hops over the wall, 4 for 1 across the map. Inax and Checolad start off this Baron. Oh, they're going to come in for support. Yes, Akabane's the one that's fallen. There's no chance Jocko gets into the pit to steal this one.
Yeah, able to run away.
Maybe he might.
Just about.
Yes, Hex Flash.
Yeah, oh man, word. If we see a Hex Flash steal on a Baron in this game, I'm going to be very surprised as Camilius is standing guard and Game Ward claim the big purple buff 22 minutes into the game.
Very, very fast-paced games. Honestly, this matchup has been fairly fast-paced in its own right. Just scraps at every real given juncture. I think that Silas Lee Sin certainly lent their advantages to that, and Skarner always wants a little bit of that. Also, Theo does respond with a Drake on the bot side, so second Dragon of the game for Solari. But it is really a drop in the bucket in terms of what Game Ward have got going their way. The Baron, 7.5k gold lead, a lot of advantages on, I will say, everybody. Really.
Yeah. I think there's one man, though, that I'm looking at.
Which man?
Checolad. Is he a man? Okay. Is he a lad? He's a dude. He's 9, 1, and 5 on this Silas right now. Checo dude.
That's what happens if me and Checo adopted a child together.
You need to stop talking.
Well, it is. It's our ship name.
You can't ship yourself with someone, rude dude. That's not how it works.
What if I do?
All right. He's a very handsome man. So
Is it allowed then?
still no, but I could understand it at least. But he's looking very, very good in this game as well. 24 stacks on that Magi's. Just needs one more assist to take over to that magic 25. And with the Rabadon's death cap as well, I think that 1v3s are honestly a little bit too easy for Checolad at this point.
I would not be surprised if he was able to pull out some fancy shenanigans. If you can steal away the quickness or the Gnar, those are the two big ults that are going to lead him down the road to success in that regard. Rabadon's death cap, Zhonya's, he's got the safety. He has the ability to go deep diving into this Solari backline. The one concern is, of course, he doesn't have his own QSS, so if he does get Skarner ulted and the CC is led effectively, Solari may be able to burst him down. But we look at the items that have been picked up. It's defensive, secondary, or Scarlet with that Banshee's Veil. It's not an Infinity Edge being completed by Azza just yet. They are far away from having this really strong late-game core of Aphelios Azir just yet.
And the issue is that Game Ward are not very far away from the Solari Nexus. There are no more structures for Solari standing outside of their base. And with this Baron buff falling away in 30 seconds, I'm not sure that Game Ward are going to be able to push any further. They're not going to be able to ingress further into that base, but they are setting themselves up for a position where in the next few minutes they can do just that.
I really like this, though, from Game Ward. Something that I've been a big proponent of since durability patches, this economy Baron, which is basically you get the first Baron of the game, and granted, it's not too easy to close out straight off of that. But what it does let you do is take all of these outer turrets, which are worth a lot of gold, helps you build up that economy, and it means that come the later stages of this game, you have a large and a sizable gold lead that you can take pretty much any fight with impunity.
As the later stages of the game have arrived a little bit earlier for Solari than they would have liked, and unfortunately they weren't invited to the party, as we're seeing jungle resources being stolen away, really just stymieing the ability of probably not Joko to farm at this point, because one item on the Skarner is probably as strong as he's ever going to be, but it means that you're denying gold away from Scarlet, away from Azza, these guys that need to be the carries for Solari.
Constant mid-game and late-game issue of teams is who do we give the resources to, and who can we safely give those resources to as well. Imagine if this is, for example, Azza stepping out this far forward where Keo is. Aphelios gets collapsed on in an instant, but Gnar has a little bit more safety built in, obviously a little bit higher level, quite a little bit more difficult to try and take down. Want to credit as well the item build paths that we are seeing from Game Ward, and we've already seen the insane amount of control, the amount of impact that Akabane's QSS has had. We now see one picked up for Inax as well, for Gwent, or for Gold. The Infinity Edge, in exchange for picking up this QSS.
I don't...
For Gave.
I don't know. As,
Neither. English is hard, man.
It is difficult. It's difficult. I don't know why they hired a couple of French guys to do the English broadcast.
Me either.
Yeah.
Me either. It will baffle me till the end of my days.
Absolutely. As I think for Solari here, you're 10k gold down. It's a difficult position, but you can't afford to be having any sort of defeatist mindset, any sort of, oh, we'll just get him in the next game, because you have to win this one.
Yeah,
and
it's do or die.
And you don't really have the luxury of going, oh, we'll just win the next one, because there are no more games if you lose this.
Sad reality for Solari, and maybe if we'd have seen this Solari even just one game earlier, they could be in a vastly different position where they do get that chance in playoffs, but they have to do it here. They have to go for it now, and they really have to try and dice up this Game Ward comp, who thus far have looked fairly impervious to said dicings. Looking to protect themselves this Drake, but it's a long way away from a Drake win condition on either side. Cloud Soul, not necessarily the greatest win condition. Baron and Elder going to be much more up their street if they can eventually get there.
And I think this is comforting for Solari, because they're not going to have to play against a soul buffed up team, and they've actually got some half decent wave clear. The Azir and the Aphelios obviously a little bit further behind than they would like, but can clear out these waves pretty decently from range. So there are stalling tools available for Solari. However, I feel like Game Ward are just so far ahead at this point that they could completely ignore them completely ignore the tower, just run at them.
I also think that is a real possibility. We have now seen the Infinity Edge be completed by Inet. He's a menace. He's a threat. This Baron is not a contest. It is not a talking point. Solari are giving it up. They know that they can't contest this. They know they're too far behind, and they are playing catch-up. Pickaxe is what Az has got working towards that Infinity Edge. I think that when the Infinity Edge gets picked up, there's a world that they can win.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there's a world where Az finishes Infinity Edge this game.
Definitely difficult. There's panning down to check our lad here. Level 16 on the Sylas, so he's going to be able to steal away ultimates in pretty rapid succession in these fights. It is almost a full build, actually, on this Sylas. And that blasting wand, and it's going to be turning into something spicy fairly soon.
A Void Staff. Peak spice.
It's not spicy. It's a lot of damage, though.
Well, you're the one that said it was spicy, so...
No, I'm sorry. I'm wrong sometimes.
You've lied. You've lied to the people.
I apologize.
For the first time ever.
I've actually never told a lie in my life, dude.
No, neither have I.
The Earth definitely is flat.
Yes, that is true. And we are French.
I feel like we're writing our own sort of extended universe here.
I feel like we're writing our own non-extension of contracts. That's what I feel like. I don't know about you.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I quite like the LFL.
I've grown fond. I've grown fond. That's what I'll say. That's definitely the case.
Yeah, I think Solari may have grown a little bit fond of their base, because that's kind of where they've been stood for the last 5 minutes. As Game Ward now with this Baron on their backs, they'll start pushing forward in 2 lanes, and this is what we were sort of talking about here. They can kind of ignore Solari to a certain extent. They know that they aren't strong enough to fight them, so they can push through, take the inhib tower, take that inhib, and rotate over to the mid lane, whilst Chekalad just tries to take some Nexus towers.
That doesn't go both ways, though, Solari. You cannot afford to ignore Game Ward the entire game. Giving them your whole base will result in you losing, and that is obviously not the desired outcome.
Losing is generally considered bad in the League of Legends community, although the amount of Nunus that I see on my team with some interesting summoner spells maybe not as unpopular as you would like, as 2 inhibs are going to be falling down here for Game Ward. That top wave really not in a position that they can push with it, and Solari got enough wave cleared to force Game Ward back for the moment.
Okay, Baron going to wear off before the time of their next push, but the job largely done for Game Ward. They have one last wave to utilize to push in on this top lane. They can use the super minions in the mid lane and the bot lane to act as 6th and 7th members of the team. It will need somebody from Solari to go and respond to, and when somebody from Solari responds to the waves, it is going to allow Game Ward to use their numbers advantage on the top side of the map to that 3rd inhibitor. And common consensus also is that as soon as you are 3 inhibitors down, the game generally over. Solari need to make a stand, need to go for their last-ditch effort. Infinity Edge finished for Azza. This is their fight.
But it looks so difficult for them to actually make it happen, as the Lightning Rush is going to be used on Melonic. Moving forward, hitting onto this tower. The Needlework is going to be used as well, as Azza already onto 40% HP. And Rude, dude, that 3rd inhib has been taken down in a rapid fashion by Game Warders. They're not going to reset. They're not going to wait any more time. They're here to end this game. They are here to dash the hopes of Solari. The minion waves just waiting to crash for the time being, but once they're going forward.
Window now even smaller. The Game Ward, they have to find a fight before these double-stacked triple waves of super minions start flooding into their base. Keo's just lost Mega, so there's a window before that gets built.
Oh, flash from Camillus, diving forward, the curse of the Sad Mummy onto multiple members as Keo is away. The damage actually coming through, huge! No! As the attempted play comes through from Solari, they're actually turning it around, but Chekolad is just too damn fed at this point. A triple kill for the Sylas, as Inax is going to be laying some shots into Kia. The Gnar going forward, turning Mega, getting that Immortal Shield Bow out. Zong is the stopwatch buying a moment of time as Chekolad steals away the Gnar. Ultimately, he's looking for the play. A stopwatch of Kio's own is going to buy him a little bit of time as he crunches forward and leaves the Rift. An ace for Game Ward at the end. Solari's hopes are dashed. And it's a win for the team near the top of the standings.
Oh, it was so close. It was a really botched engage by Game Ward. They didn't get Azza, who was free hitting the entire time, got a triple kill in that fight. But Keo not quite ready, not quite there for the 2v2 on the back end. And the game does fall. Game Ward set themselves up to potentially be